So with the overwhelming amount of evidence, I've noticed the trolls started to reduce their tactic of directly claiming that there's something wrong with me, and they're more doing things that would suggest that there's something wrong with me subtly and trying to make it so they add up to create a certain picture. And of course, this is common in politics, where people do things to give you a certain impression. So why are they doing this to me? Well, it's simple. I am a nonconformist person who is adverse to every other culture. And as a result, they have to say, how did he reach this point? They study my mind. It's very simple. Governance, right? Government. To govern meant for mental, mind, to control the mind. If somebody is extremely deviant and is not in a controlled opposition group, they have to study this person and see how he got to this point. Very straightforward, basic idea of governance. It is insane not to see it this way. And when you consider that I'm the son of a brain surgeon and all this stuff, and also from a royal family of a tribe, I become a very irresistible case for them. So this video, therefore, is called Your Fee Obi versus going to meet Ra unpunished as an inferior way to live your life. So again, I used to have the Pan-African flag, which is basically an earlier version of the Biafran flag, which has the sun, the rising sun, in it. The sun god, Chukwu, in his most respectable interpretation, is associated with the sun. Okay, he is the main god. Then there are a bunch of deities, which are basically like angels, and some of them represent ideas that are more like angels that are loyal to God, and some of them don't. Anna, for example, is a deity that is perhaps more pronounced in a lot of Igbo culture in terms of their behavior because they have betrayed their founding fathers. Okay, and this is the idea of shedding blood in a way that doesn't make women happy is wrong. Okay, this is the basic idea. Now, it used to be women were only happy when everyone obeyed Obi. Now they're happy to be Western-styled feminists. So let's first go into the culture, in culture clash, in culture shock, okay? And in the culture-shocked state of mind, people tend to prey on the attractive women from their own culture instead of them naturally finding their ways to people from other cultures who are better men than they are, right? Better in every sense of the word that is true. So when we look at Greek societies and parties, what parties get shut down, generally speaking, in San Jose, to be diplomatic with my experience, and I know this plays out in the rest of the country as well, it is the ones where people cram into and they get shut down. This process repeats. Society allows it to happen to some degree. They'll pretend they have no control over it, but they have a lot more than you might think. There's various ways to change the direction of the culture. Okay, so it is the cultural direction clashing with the true moral direction. And so the example is have small get-togethers or go to frat parties. Frat parties are a lot harder to shut down, partially because they're regulated by University of Police, okay? The University Police, rather. And who's regulating them and why and how? What frats are allowed? Some colleges, it was brought to my attention, do not allow black frats to exist because they weren't started before a certain time. Blatantly racist, just like Masonry, which quite often doesn't allow black people into their lodges. Black people have their own black lodges, which white people can attend, but not vice versa. Very telling. Okay, the black man is not allowed to rise. The brain surgeon son is not allowed to pick up his inheritance and his heritage and lead the black community as uncontrolled opposition. It is simply not allowed, and there are many checks in place to make sure that it doesn't happen, including using his own people, even his own tribe, even his own family, to some degree, to varying degrees, against him. So attractive women help determine the culture, so there's a special emphasis on controlling attractive women. As a result, they are not reasonable. They are not reasonable. Think about it. If you're hopelessly controlled by the state for the purpose of keeping the righteous black martial artist down first and foremost? Are you reasonable? No. How could you be? You're a puppet for very evil, sick politicians and corporate garbage. That is not reasonable. There's no reasoning with you. This is, the age of reason created non-reason. It created unreasonable harlots in the kind of eros, okay? They came from the night, okay? They came from chaos sort of manner. This is their culture. Their culture is chaos and force and necessity. Create the ideas the ideas or the deities that are allowed. And we see that continuity from Greece to Rome, and ultimately through the church to the rest of the world, and we see the same figures and cultures existing. And we even have Greek societies whose names prove my point, right? The betas, alpha, gamma, kappa, whatever the fuck, right? Cap A, game A, alpha male, who's seen as the alpha? Come on. And they're all beta sissies, are they not? And this is part of the slight clash. We see that the black fraternities seem to express a higher degree of masculinity than the non-black ones, but they're not allowed. And I would say that that has something to do with it. And I would venture to say that perhaps one day they will be allowed when they're emasculated bitches. All right. So what is attractive, right? It is healthy. It is clean. The nose even has something to do with it. How come I don't have a very Negroid nose? How come I have more of a European, what is associated with European Jews, Semites, and a lot of other peoples? Because this is a dominant trait. What is naturally dominant, even when the black man breeds with another race, right? It's safe to say it is dominant. The testosterone of the black man is the highest. He's the most naturally, he expresses the most natural masculinity in his most testosterone-filled form to the naked eye. The most spiritual masculinity in his martial arts, leopard, falcon son of the leopard form. Thus, the reason why Horus the Elder is the archetype or the true idea of Pharaoh. Everything else is an imposter. Okay, this is part of why the Pharaoh, as an idea, had to go. Where are the pharaohs now? The people in charge are truly related to the pharaohs. Why did they get rid of the idea? Why not rule openly as Pharaoh? Because they know it is laughable. Perhaps one day, when they have altered their genes, they'll do something despicable like that. Okay. Again, I'm not racist. These are just the facts. Okay. Ever heard the saying, it's about the size of it? Yes, in popular culture, black people are said to have the biggest penises. This has a very profound effect on conceptions and perceptions of masculinity. You think it doesn't? The culture of a city or a town, think Morgan Hell, right? More in hell. More G in hell. N in Sumerian language, E-N for enki, and Enlil, means Lord. Enki, Lord, justified by the waters of the earth. Ki, the earth goddess. Enki. Loki, Norse mythology. Lo, pointed down. Ki, mischief. Misled. Misdirection. Misinterpreted. Mischief. Okay? The man goes out and hunts. He comes back, right, naturally. He feeds his family. The woman's body gets broken down because she has children. She couldn't compete naturally if she wanted to. Her body gets broken down. She eats a lot, she gets slow, and she's focused on family life. If you switch the order, it leads to mischief, and it is usually done by outside forces for the purpose of breaking down that group, which is what a lot of conspiracy theorists are saying that the New World Order is trying to do with the family. And it's a left-right paradigm. They work together to do it. So, you ever heard the term of when hell freezes over? People from colder climates breed, their cultures and their people are from colder climates. They breed to be less receptive to noise and movement. Okay. This is part of why they drug me. This is part of why they mess up my back, right? Depakote is a mood stabilizer. Okay. It stabilizes the mood, right? They fume me. At some point, I had to take an asthma inhaler, Flovent, right? And also I had to do the eye relief and so on and so forth. Why? Because they caused me problems with breathing, right? Spiritus, breathing, okay? Animus, animal, spirit, right? Okay. Psychiatry, psyche, psychology, right? Psyche, she's in a trance-like state, right? Trance end. When you end their psychological system, only then can you connect to God, right? You don't connect to God through the New Age movement, for example, or any mental health community-related movement, but by yourself, with all due respect, to be diplomatic. All right. So where do, again, it goes back to the ice words. Malice, right? Malevolent, bad, evil, malice, ice, police, ice. Their language, not mine. The people from Sumer and Egypt migrated, right, after generations, after Sumer, collapse and so on, migrated to Greece and Rome through Crete. Okay? Hephaestus is said to make the chariot of Helios, and Hercules is this, and so on and so forth. Right? He forges these things. These people migrate. Okay? These aren't, pale white people. These are mixed people who are from civilized nations that became the civilizers or governing class when they migrated to these places. That's who they are. To not see it that way is like saying that the people, the governing class in America, are actually Native Americans. They might be mixed to some degree, but they have migrated from somewhere else to become the governing class. And so it was in Greece. Okay? These are mixed people. Okay? Elf-looking people, if you will, in some cases. Big, strong, bull-looking people. As a result, we have Bill Gates type of people, Rockefeller. These are variations of the bull and the jackal. Okay, and their cults, right? Set, okay, and Baal and Bel, and these things connect to Marduk and Enki and Loki and Enlil and Anu, right? And Tiamat, right? This idea that created different dragons in an attempt to take over. And dragon is part of the symbolic of the earth and chaos, the world serpent, and so on and so forth. So we have malice, police, ice, and practice. Okay. The leopard is the surgeon. My dad does it the old-fashioned way by hand. Some people use computers, brain surgery. And it also goes back to the Kunini culture, Southern Angola, Angel A, Capoeira, Capoeira, Ra. So now we understand kind of the clash of cultures. We've explored to some degree how it plays out. How it plays out in Morgan Hill, you have the movie theaters, you have the bowling alley somewhere, right? And as a result, okay, these places, it's a weak-ass town. That's pretty much it. You have a few bars no one goes to. A bunch of nice restaurants that a bunch of wine community and rich house-having yuppies attend to some degree. And every once in a while, some poor person has some kind of significant event in their life, and they go celebrate there. It's dead. There's nothing here. It's boring. Okay? It is cheap housing for San Jose, and then there's a bunch of cowboy, yuppie, and wine cultures, Dionysus, Bacchus, Pan, wine cultures. That's their foundation, right? Foundation, okay? Traction, right? Track, shun, right? The different forms of martial arts. Limitations, right? Limit-a-shun. What are the limitations? There are cultural, social, political, economic, and they attempt to make spiritual limitations, which is really their worldly limitations of the spiritual expression. All right, so now let's wrap this up. Again, the Pan-African flag is just like the Biafran flag, which was the Igbo alliance with the local small tribes against the Nigerian government during the Nigerian Civil War from 1967 to 1970, which also ultimately led my dad here without a penny in his pocket becoming a brazen. So what are we saying? Biafra, the wordplay. B of Ra, Ba, meaning spirit. Ba backwards with the O instead of the A is Obi. Obi if Ra. Ba, you have a soul if you submit to the order of Ra. Only if. It's right there in the wordplay. Bow of Ra, Ebo, right? Bow of Ra. Here's shooting you through the sun gate, right? And shooting your enemies for the right reasons. The bow of Ra. By if Re. Your fee Obi. Or foe Obi. Okay? Backwards. Biafra. Backwards. Interchangeable vowels. Vowel to L. Your fee Obi or foe Obi. The foe of these other colors is the sun that shows their true colors. In contrast, the con, right? You see who's the red, who's the black, who's the green. Now, if you have a fake person who's like, I'm the good guy, I'm the corrupt cop pretending to be good, or whatever, right? Then you have a contrast, okay? And then there's Ba, A, If, Ra, Ba, B-O, F, Ra.